What I think is important to at least address today is your experience as a Black patient, as a Black female patient. We know that from the numbers that Black men and women with lung cancer are significantly less likely to get diagnosed in an early stage compared to their white peers, right? If you're getting diagnosed later, the odds of survival are smaller, right? I mean, that's just the math of it. But there is a lot of human impact here that I want to unpack. So, one, when you know this, what is your message in terms of what we all need to do better? You know, whether it's clinical participation, clinical trial participation, whether it's messaging to the Black community, what do we need to be doing?
It's definitely not in the rural areas yet. It's coming, but there are some African American initiatives, community movements where on the health front, where they're really, going into communities and neighborhoods, and they're setting up fairs and booths and handing out literature to where you can really be active in your health on all fronts, whether it's lung cancer or breast cancer awareness, all of it. So, and I do know that it's not enough, though. It's not so much more to be done, but it's a start. And within those communities, and I'm just going to be brutally real, it might have to creep into our faith-based communities, because even I have to continue to combat this as a believer, and I do attend church, but I've also learned how to grow in this challenge of having cancers. But I have the opportunity to see both sides as a cancer patient and as a participant in church activities. And so the disconnect is that, and this has happened to me a lot. Girl, just give it to God. Just pray. And as if the God that I'm praying to is not going to answer through people. Sorry, I can laugh because, again, I've learned how to laugh. Because when that realization hit me, I was like, he's going to answer through people when he does. So people, how can we get ourselves in a position to actually do some really wonderful things? And I think that aha moment is going to come from, let's get out of being territorial first. And so we do have some owners of the information. Ooh, this is our information and it's going to stay in our university. There's that extreme to just providing the information through what flyers. You go to a church gathering and present, I don't know, have a day of food and medicine. I don't know. Creative. We can be creative, right? I hope.
I think that's great insight, Shirese. And I also want to point to one thing here, which is there's cultural nuances when we talk about, and by the way, we're painting with broad strokes. We're not talking about every group and Black people or African American communities, not one monolithic thing, right? But generally speaking, there is a sense of distrust with some folks when it comes to institutions, to healthcare, to testing, right? And of course, Tuskegee, the experiment, is a huge part of this because people from that era are telling their family members and passing that down of, hey, you got to watch yourself because we have to protect ourselves. So what can we do there? Because there are these cultural nuances. How can we, so you suggested, let's meet people where they are in the community. Is there anything else that we can do better so that we have more participation?
Oh, absolutely. And first and foremost, with all due respect, the first thing outside of race, color, or creed I had to choose if I wanted to live or not. And when I decided that I want to live, I started looking at everything through the lens of, okay, so what is the best approach? What is this? So instead of me looking at, I didn't want to go, well, let's go back to, and let's connect something real quick. So the first oncologist who said, you have monkeys in your head. Now, I could have, Stephanie, decided right then to take that as a total racial write-off and just go all into some kind of march or whatever and raise a flag, but I chose not to, because that energy would have taken away from the energy that I needed to live. So instead of putting that, because when you talk about monkeys and apes and stuff like that, woo, that can raise an alarm in a Black community in a minute. But for me, I needed to look at the bigger picture for a minute. And I'll address that one later on another level. I didn't need to address her that way, not at that moment. I need to live first. Let me find out how to live first. So now I'm reaching for the exchange. Can we get to a place where we can feel comfortable engaging in a conversation? So we talked about stigma of lung cancer being associated with smoking. Then we need to remove the stigma that the reason why people are not getting diagnosed early or vice versa, is it all race related, or is it because they really don't know where to fish? You can, or if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for the day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat tomorrow, and then versa. But how about we show them where to fish? Where is the information at? And because I wanted to know. So I sought. So do I now teach people not color first, gender first, and all this, but I teach you where to go to find information? Is that where the energy goes now? That way I can demystify the Tuskegee approach. I'm sorry that happened. It did. You're right, shameful, but that's not today. That's not today. So I got to stay present. So what's today? Today's issue is just like we talked about once before, which is the information is not made available to everyone. And University of Michigan had knowledge about a targeted therapy that the local rural area that I lived in had no idea about. And I don't think all the way that had anything to do with race, color, or creed. It had to do with the dissemination of pertinent information for just people who are not universidad, who are not in the university.
Yeah. No, that's powerful. I hear what you're saying, and I hope that we can work together to help get this information out there to the right people. The last question I have, and first, before we wrap it with the last question, the name of your book, because people can then buy your book and read it and really get the deep dive into your experience. Can you tell us again what it is? And we will.
It is Hope. It is Hope. It Will Not End With My Death by Charise Pompey. It is on Amazon.com. And it's basically my 6-year lung cancer journey, the first 6 years, and all of the ebbs and flow of it. And it's not just about the hospital. So it's not a boring read to where it's like, oh, she's in the hospital today, and then, oh, now you got to go get tests. It's not like that. no. So anyone who doesn't have cancer can read it and just follow me on this awesome journey. And I do call it awesome because there's so many other discoveries of me becoming.
What I'm hearing is it's a personal look into this human experience about the ups and
Yes.
downs, about the transformation that you underwent. So we'll make sure to drop a link to that book, Cherise. So, as a summary, we touched on so many topics in this conversation, but what is your sort of final message here? If you could tie together, I mean, you talk about the importance of it's under the umbrella of self-advocacy, I think, though, right? It's like the biomarker testing, listening to your voice to get access to the right information, to own your data, the change that led to different treatment options. I mean, you were on that first targeted therapy, crizotinib, for 3 years when you were told at diagnosis you would have 15 months. What is that overall message to people that you've learned that you want to gift to them today?
Oh, awesome. So I'll start with the end and work backwards, which is hope. The hope that is in knowing that there's more to life than just your existence. So the hope for me was I joined a lot of groups. I joined a lot of advocacy groups. And the hope was always in just the research alone. And we don't know what's coming out. So there's that hope in the unknown. Now you can have fear or you can have hope. And then when you have hope, what is it in? No different than fear. What is your fear in? I can have fear of my scans. I have a scan coming up in April, the end of April. Now I can have fear of the scans, or I can have hope that when the scans come out, that there is an answer, that there is a remedy, that there is something on the horizon. Now, when I had that hope, at first, that hope didn't kick in right away. And it's weird. Even when I called myself a believer, but in a cancer diagnosis, and you're staring at something that people have died from, that's a whole different walk. Because when you're planning your own funeral, but yet a glimpse of hope came to know that the crizotinib that I was on didn't even exist 10 years ago. So when I did pray and people were praying for me, and I know that on a cancer journey, the people that love you, they go into prayer. Well, the prayer is that the hope is that, yes, research is changing. Research is changing, and it's creating opportunities to live longer. So as I live longer, I've been living 8 years now. You can never give up hope. Not now, not then, not ever. So I get the hope to live longer, but I can't just hope in the next pill, Stephanie. I need to have a place of peace. I need to have a disposition that even if the next pill doesn't work for me, can I live a life of giving back? Because that gives me joy. And I want the next person who's diagnosed to know that not only can you have hope in the research, but you can have hope in a very divine essence of love. Love is an energy that I know that after the last pill doesn't work for me, the quality of life that I was able to live because of the cancer research, it's great. And I'm thankful. So resolve. Get your place to a resolve where you can enjoy the research and take advantage of it for the quality of life and give back. Give back to your family. Give back to your community. Give back to something. Okay.
Thank you, Sharice. I love your message of gratitude, of love, of resolve, of ownership of your data, taking power in yourself, self-advocacy. And for everyone who wants to see the entire conversation, please head to thepatientreport.com, where you'll see human answers to your cancer questions. Thank you.
Thank you.